Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is going to be another ranking video, and the reason I'm doing this is that I put on my community post about a week ago which band do you prefer, Blondie or the Pretenders, and Blondie won 2-1 really. I think 67% or 65% was Blondie and 35% was the Pretenders. Personally I prefer the Pretenders, but I am a big Blondie fan as well. So Blondie it is. I'm going to rank their 11 albums. Now there's two phases of Blondie. There's the classic phase from 1976 to 1982, and then they split up and they came back in 1999 and have released 5 albums since 1999. So we'll take a look at these and put them down in order from 11 to 1. Now I did the usual thing, I put them all on a playlist and I played them to and from work. Now I'm very familiar with the first 6 albums, not quite as familiar with the last 5, so the first 6 albums got played once and the last 5 got played twice, and I have come up with an order. Okay, so now coming in at number 11, and my least favourite Blondie album, and it's their last one from 2017, which got to number 4 in the charts, and it is Pollinator. Now the big issue I have with this is that it's far too loud. I think the phrase is brick walled or compressed, but it's part of this loudness wars, and it does destroy the sound of it. It just does not sound that organic. The songs themselves aren't that bad. For example, Doom and Destiny, which was a duet with Joan Jett, is actually quite good if they had tamed it down. My Monster is Johnny Moore's song, which is not bad, but my favourite off this by a mile is the song Too Much. I think it's the most melodic on the album, but those 3 songs alone doesn't save this album at all, and it gets my number 11. Now at number 10, and it is from 2014 and a number 16 album, and it's Ghosts of Download. Now I bought this in Tesco's. I remember buying it, and you buy this and you get a greatest hits free, but these are all re-recorded versions and I have skipped through them and they're not great. But before I start talking about this album, this CD pack is actually quite good because you get an awful lot with it. You have the greatest hits CD. As I say, I've skipped through it, haven't really played it. You have your booklet, which I haven't even looked at, and I bought this when it came out. You have the Ghost of Download CD, which I'll talk about in a moment, and you have a DVD, Live in October CBGB 1977, which I confess I have never ever watched. I don't even know if it's a visual DVD or if it's just an audio DVD. I must put it on today. And you also get a nice poster, which for the first time I opened last night, and it is very nice. It's a little small poster with special guest Nick Lowe of all people, and a little poster at the back. So it is a really good set, and I think that's what actually put it up to number 16 in the charts. But with regards to the album itself, it suffers exactly the same as the Pollinator. However, the very first song I heard off this was Sugar on the Side, and I loved it, absolutely loved it, and that's what made me buy the album. The rest of the album is not fantastic. The song Rave is okay. A Rose with No Name I think was a single as well, which is okay. I Screwed Up is a pretty good song, but my second favourite behind Sugar on the Side is a song called Make a Way, which is actually quite catchy. But in saying that, it's still not fantastic, and it gets my number 10. At number 9, and from 2003, so you see it's all the Mark II stuff is falling at the bottom for me, and is The Curse of Blondie. And again, it's too loud, but there are some really good songs off this. Shakedown is the opener, and it's not a bad opener. It's choppy, but it's pretty good. You have Good Boys, which is a bit of a standard sort of dance club groove, which is not fantastic, but it's okay. End to End was a second single after Good Boys. It's fine, nothing spectacular, But right bang in the middle of this you get three absolute gems. Rules for Living, which is like a reggae type song. Now I must admit I do like Blondie doing reggae. In fact, I'm a huge fan of Blondie doing reggae, and a lot of these reggae songs in the later albums are saving those albums for me. Background melody, which has got a real good dub sound to it, which is excellent. And then there's a song called Magic, and in brackets Asa Doya Yunta. Now whenever I first heard that, it reminded me of the very first Twilight film I had to sit and watch through at the time. It has that creepy sound to it, which I think is great. Those three songs are wonderful, but the album as a whole is far too long. It's from the early 2000s and it can be too loud, so it gets my number 9. Number 8, and here we go again, and this one's from 2011. By the way, Curse of Blondie from 2003 got the number 36. This is my number 8, and it's Panic at Girls from 2011, and this only managed to get to, I think it was 73 or something like that there. This is weird marketing because this came out first as part of a pack that you would buy in Tesco's or Asda or WH Smith's. There's a magazine with it and you get the CD. You couldn't buy the CD on its own until about a month later, and by that time nobody was interested, which means it really didn't chart. So you do get a nice the collector's guide limited edition Blondie, which I have flicked through. Nice to have. It's in pretty good condition because I've only flicked through it once. And then you get the weird poster, which is nice to get a decent sized poster for a CD. Well, this side is nicer. So 2011, I think this is the one that I actually have played the most. See if I can get this out here rather than holding the whole thing up. Yeah. Oh yeah, you get little badges and postcards as well. Or buttons, I think we call them in America. But yeah, Panic at Girls, I think this is quite good. Again, it's very loud, but there's some very good songs off this. The opener D-Day is not bad, it's a decent opener, and then you get What I Heard. But I'm coming back to this again and again. There's reggae stuff on this which I absolutely love. The end, fantastic, and then they do a version of, is it Sophie Hawkins or Hawkins, Girly Girly? I think that's who did it. I've always loved the song and I love Blondie's version of it. It's absolutely excellent. And then Sunday Smile is an absolutely beautiful song, and then you have the Parisian feel of Le Bleu. Yeah, this is a strong album for later Blondie. It's still not perfect and it is too long, but I would go for this over the last 3 albums without a doubt, or the last 3 that I've just shown. So that's my number 8, is Panic of Girls. So are all the Mark II at the bottom of the list? Well, no, because this one here is my number 7, and it's The Hunter from 1982. It's not a bad album, it is a bit patchy, but the thing is, how to actually stop this from selling immediately is to take one of the most beautiful women in the world, put her on the cover with a lion's mane on top of her head. I think that's an awful look for Debbie Harry, and then put a real sort of cheap looking purple background. I don't like the cover of this, I think it's dreadful. The music inside's not bad. There was 2 singles, Islands of Lost Souls, which was a top 20 hit, which is decent. War Child is a good song, but it is a poor single. There's one track off here called For Your Eyes Only, and it was the song they submitted for the 1981 James Bond film of the same name, but lost out to Sheena Easton. I think it's brilliant. It's 3 minutes of pure Blondie stroke James Bond. They actually merged the 2 of them really well together, and I think it would have made a brilliant single. I think they should have released this in 81, but maybe they weren't allowed to because of the Sheena Easton song itself, because I think it's far better than Sheena Easton's own song. Dance Away is another one that could really have been a single. and Little Caesar is quite catchy with those sort of synthesized horns on it. Orchid Club is actually a decent opener, there's a really good groove to it. And then you get English Boys, which is one of the better songs off the album. They do a version of The Hunter Gets Captured by the Game, which I think Grace Jones did as well. This is not a bad album, it's just not as good as the ones that came out before it, but still, awful cover, decent enough album. Okay, number 6, and then we have No Exit. This is the 1999 album. First of all, this is too long. This is the problem with it. So you could get, there's 14 songs off it. You could have a really, really good 10-track album. It starts off with Screaming Skin, which is a great song. It's like a ska type number. It's too loud again, but it's still pretty good. Maria is the big hit single off this, #1. Really like it. Don't think it deserved to be #1. Only got there because it was the first Blondie album in 17 years. No Exit is one that I shouldn't like, but I actually really do. It's got that horror organ at the start, something like from a horror film, and I think it's really good. And it's all rap with a guy called Coolio. On paper I should hate it, but I really do like it. Under the Gun is a really good sort of galloping rocker. Out in the Streets is a very, very good song as well, and Night Wind Scent is excellent. The other single off this was Nothing Is Real But the Girl. No Exit was also a single, which is okay. This is a good album, it's just too long, but it does get my number 6. Okay, at number 5, and we have the debut from 1976, and this is Blondie, and starts off with the brilliant Ex Offender. You get really good songs like Little Girl Lies, The Beautiful in the Flesh, Look Good in Blue is one of my favourites off this as well. The last track, The Attack of the Giant Ants, is really, really catchy. Man Overboard, Ripper to Shreds is probably the most famous song off this because it's going on the greatest hits. For some reason Ex Offender didn't, and it's a better song. But yeah, this is a really decent debut. And this really could nearly have been my number 4. My number 5 and number 4 are interchangeable, but I'm putting it at number 5, and this got to number 75 in the charts. It only charted after they became successful with Parallel Lines. By the way, The Hunter got to number 9, and Panic of No Exit got to number 3. Okay, my number 4, and it's from 1977, and a number 10 album, and it's Plastic Letters. And this is more of the same, really. Fan Mail is a really good mid-tempo opener. Love at the Pier, No Imagination are really good, but this contains 2 classic hit singles, which maybe gives it the edge over the debut. It's got Denis on it, which I love, and it's got I'm Always Touched by Your Presence, Dear, which I absolutely love as well. I'm on E is a great song. Detroit 442 is a great wee rocker. The only one I don't really like off this is Cautious Lip, but this is a good album. It's on a par with the debut, but I'm going to put it at number 4. So my top 3, now I am ranking these in a listening pleasure. So number 3 may be a little bit of a shock, and I'm giving it to Parallel Lines. Now this is their best album. I will admit this is their best album. And if anybody says, what album should I start with, I will always direct them to Parallel Lines. But listening pleasure, it only got number 3. And I think part of the reason is I'm done listening to Heart of Glass and Sunday Girl. And I'm done listening to Hanging on the Telephone. Although I'm not done listening to Picture This for some reason. But this is a really good album. I've always loved Pretty Baby. One Way or Another could have been a huge hit single over here if it had been released at the time. 11:59, brilliant opener to side 2. Just Go Away has got one of the best riffs I've ever done. I'm Gonna Love You Too, which is the Buddy Holly cover, which is great as well. The only song I'm not keen on is I Know But I Don't Know. So this is a really strong album, and I got to number 1, and it's the one that they're most famous for, and it's an iconic cover as well. But it's not my favourite Blondie cover. I'll tell you that at the very, very end. Okay, so number 3 is Parallel Lines. And number 2, and another number 1 album, and this time from 1979, and it's Eat to the Beat. And this just edges Parallel Lines because I'm not as sick of it, and I'm not as sick of the singles. It's got my all-time favourite Blondie song with Dreaming on it. The hardest part reminds me of One Way or Another, but it's just as good. Atomic is a fantastic single, as is Union City Blue, which I always thought was a bit weak, but when I was playing this, I was singing away to it. Absolutely love it. The only song I'm not keen on this album, and it's not the one you're thinking, it's actually the title track, Eat to the Beat. I think it's quite weak. Victor, I like the music. Debbie's screaming, and it's okay. I don't mind it at all. Die Young, Stay Pretty is reggae again. Absolutely love it. Slow Motion, to me, would have been a #1 hit if it had been released. Shayla's a beautiful song, and Accidents Never Happen is a really good track as well. And then you finish with really In Your Face, Living in the Real World, which is excellent. Really, really good album, and #1, and it just beats Parallel Lines for me. So my #1, my favourite Blondie album is Auto American. It's the one I got the most pleasure listening to. It's the one I have never ever got fed up with. This has got so many different styles of music in it. It's all over the place, but I absolutely love it. 2 big hit singles, the reggae The Tide Is High, which is great, and Rapture, which is fantastic. It opens up with an instrumental called Europa, which is really good, and then goes into a funky track called Live It Up. You have a song called Here's Looking At You, which comes from the 1920s. It's just that style. And then you have a smoky jazz tune called Faces. You know, you don't expect to hear all this on a Blondie album, but I'm not a smoky jazz fan, but I really enjoyed it. And even there's a track called Follow Me, which sounds as if it had come from a stage show. I think it's really, really good. You do get normal Blondie type songs as well, like Go Through It, which is excellent, T-Birds, which is excellent, and Angels in the Balcony, really, really good. I love this. I just played it. I had to play this again because I enjoyed it so much. So it's my #1 Blondie album at the moment. It's also my favourite Blondie cover. I love that cover, and I especially like the little yellow rim round it and Auto American in the top left hand corner. Something about it. The painting is absolutely magnificent, and that's my favourite cover as well. Okay, so that's my ranking of the Blondie studio albums. I'm sure I'm the only one that would put Auto American at #1, but really the top 3 could change at any time, but for the moment Auto American is the one that I enjoyed the most. Well, hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.